Welcome to Porch Play Chats, sponsored by the American Association for Promoting the Child's Right to Play, or more affectionately named IPA-USA. IPA-USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association. And as part of our efforts to promote play, we're happy to introduce our Porch Play Chats. And these are conversations that focus on a wide range of topics from experts that are just as passionate about play as we are. I'm Deb Lawrence, and I'm president of IPA USA. And with me on the porch is Lisa Murphy. Hey,
Hello,
Lisa.
nice to see you.
And joining us today is Christine Alexander. And Christine is a teaching artist and play advocate. So, of course, we love her already. And she uses her skills to to do improv and in museum theater techniques that help children enhance their child led and play based learning and to promote play opportunities for everyone. So, Christine, we are so excited to have you. She also works with Pat Roomba and Play for America. So this is a wonderful or Play America um, where Pat Roomba, of course, is the play lady, we call her. And so Christine's going to talk to us about teacher creativity and why should creativity and play be the focus in teacher education programs. So, Christine, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you, Deborah and Lisa. I've watched your porch chats and listened to the podcasts and admired you both from afar. So thank you for the work that you do and for making this happen and making porch play chats a thing. This is so exciting.
We are so excited because we get to find more peeps.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
The fact that I'm connecting with you all right now is like kind of I'm a little nervous because you guys are like people I've looked up to and like I'm glad that these conversations are happening and now I'm a part of them and that's really cool.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you. So talk to us about your the title and why it is so important that teachers in their education programs have creativity.
So I came to wonder about this myself because I was working with teachers in an outreach program that the Smithsonian had called Creative Tools for Teaching. And it was an ensemble based group of actors who would go into pre-K classrooms in DC public schools. And we were there doing professional development, but we were also there with the kids. So we got the advantage of seeing the classroom environment as it is with the children in it, which is so important to understanding what exactly the teachers are dealing with and how their classroom culture is evolving throughout the year. And we were there to demonstrate and share techniques for playing with the children and embedding instruction into play through improv theater techniques that we trained in and museum theater. So basically, over the years, I was there working with that company for about 8 years. I heard over and over again from the teachers, oh, like, I love what you do. You're so great at the acting thing, but that's just, I'm not creative enough for that. Or, oh, the props that you make, because we would hand make all of our props, make them out of cardboard, found objects, just make it as accessible as possible. And the teachers would say, oh, can you make one of those for me? Or I don't know how to make the things that you make. They're just so good. And so the refrain was kind of, I'm not creative enough to do whatever. And I saw the ways that they were creative. So I knew and I'm a big believer that everyone is creative. As a human being, you possess the generative power to be creative. You have an imagination. It just requires confidence to use it in the ways that your imagination and your creativity work best. And it's not going to look the same on everyone, nor should it.
Right.
So I became interested in why is there this kind of common comment from teachers about not being creative when, especially in early childhood, it's the most creative job I can think of. You have to be on your toes all day. Nothing is ever going to go the way that you plan. And it's exciting when it doesn't, because that's an opportunity for something new to happen if you embrace it. And that requires this confidence in your ability to enact change in your environment, which is basically what creativity is. So I started thinking, are we learning this? Are we teaching this as to teachers in their pre-service education? And I asked around to the teachers that I was working with right before the pandemic hit, and all of them said, no, my creativity was not addressed in my pre-service training, or I didn't even get a major. I didn't major in education. I was like, one of them majored in some kind of like crime studies, and ended up getting certified as a teacher. But in all of that training, their creativity was never really addressed. And I thought, that should probably change so that we can cultivate that confidence in creativity in educators to then pass on and model for their students, because this is a quality that we know is in high demand in the workforce.
Yes.
And we need to equip our children to think creatively and collaboratively. That's a big part of improvisation, which is the angle that I take on approaching creativity. So really, it's like educate the teachers in creativity for the sake of the children. That's how I came to it, and that's why I think it's important.
Well, and
I'm going to share a personal observation. I've dabbled in, not dabbled in, that's not the right word at all. I've tossed this as a nugget out to some other people saying, like, I just had a great idea, go do something with it. I just had a great idea, go do something with it. But here is what it is. There is a common thread between confident, successful early childhood people and theater. And I'm not the only one who's noticed it. Somebody's written a couple books about it, but I know that whether they realize it or not, they are plugging into the tenets, especially of improv, not necessarily of the theater, but definitely improv. The pivot, the saying yes, and children are natural improvers. And when the adult in the space is also willing to sit in that space of yes, and
absolutely,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it unlocks so much, but the potential is just endless. Yeah.
And so I want to go back because I think that's right. I think, and Lisa has talked about this so many times, that when you have a theater background or an improv background, you have more confidence in yourself and your own creativity than and when I'm in a classroom with students and I have loose parts on the table and I say, pick a table and let's see what happens. They are so uncomfortable because they think there's a product.
There's a test.
Yeah.
That is expected at the end. And I said, all I want you to do is play and explore and discover. It's a process. And so, and then, sometimes because in school, I had to have a product and mine never looked like the art teacher's product. And so I lost my confidence about being creative. And so I think that is another huge issue that early care and education folks and other people do too. Everybody had the same art teacher. Mine never looked like hers. I can't draw. I can't paint. I can't.
I'm glad you said everyone had the same art teacher, because I think that speaks to kind of a perspective shift that we need to have in teacher education. Like, we need to recognize that the people who are coming to the profession of teaching have come from the same system of education that has trumped like standardization and conformity and all of the things that erase or belittle people's creativity or don't value it, and that they need like a process in their education that will rebuild that or heal that will
detox it.
Yeah, that will put them back in touch with like what it is that makes them flow, enter that state of flow, because it's so important to understand what works for yourself before you can attempt to bring that out of other people.
I'm a big believer. Oh, sorry, go on. You go on.
You go first.
I'm a big piece of my message is that the secret to good teaching is controlling the environment instead of the children.
Mhm.
So kind of making peace with the individual control needs, the control stuff, the controlness that we bring, and to just bring it back to the improv and the theater piece. I think practicing improv, even just doing improv games at a staff development session, like 1 or 2 of them, like it doesn't even need to be a week-long intensive on improv, but even just salt and peppering professional development with a couple games gives us practice in a safe environment of sitting in that discomfort, of relinquishing some control. And like other people on the porch have said, it like allows you to build it up, like you're building up your ability.
Yeah, your stamina for accepting uncertainty and accepting other people's ideas. Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and I think when you're able to do that, then you're able to lessen the control that you feel like you have to be successful, right? Oh, that they have to be sitting, and I have to be telling them what to do, and I have to be doing blah, 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 because that's what a teacher does instead of what a facilitator does of learning. And so I'd be curious to know, as you were working with the teachers in those classrooms, what nuggets were you able to get them to release some of that control? How did you help them?
So early on in our program, we were able to do professional development workshops with them as well. And that was really valuable time. But in the classroom time, it was a lot about modeling play between a teaching artist and their students, and inviting the teachers into those moments to observe and play with, if we could get them to play with us.
Yeah.
And a great example is we had a teaching artist who was working with a student who was like basically nonverbal at that point in his development. And the teacher was frustrated. She was like, I don't know, like, you won't talk to me. And our teaching artist went in and was nonverbal with him. And it really wasn't as much like, oh, we're going to play characters now, and like, we're going to have a like very theatrical engagement. It was more observing, which is a big part of improvisation. If you're not observing, then you're not paying attention. You don't know what's being put into the environment and how to build off of it. And then meeting the child where they were, which is, you have to do that with your scene partners. Otherwise you're off in some direction and they're God knows where. And he just had a totally nonverbal interaction with the child for a few minutes. And it was all about this one particular object. And the teaching artist then just started to verbalize like what it was that was happening with this object, the name of the object, what they were doing. And after several minutes, the child was saying a few of those words along with the teaching artist. And in our debrief session, that teacher said, I have to do that now. I have to do what he did because it worked. So it's less about like really getting them to be theatrical and more about getting them to tap into the just the person to person skills that are really valuable in things like improvisation. Another story, this is a little more on the theatrical side. When we first started, we were working with the Tools of the Mind curriculum, which is very like
dramatic play,
heavy, which was so great. We loved it so much. But the teachers were like, I don't want to play characters. Like if someone walks in my room and they see me being not me, not the teacher, not in charge, then they're going to think that the room is in chaos, or they're not going to understand what's happening. And we just encourage them over and over, like, we support you in this. We think that this is something that will benefit you and your students. Like the Smithsonian says, it's okay to play. Right. And finally they started to do it. And this one particular school just embraced it in a really, like, they turned a full like 180. It was amazing. And they developed these characters that they would put on for their center time. And one of them was Miss Yvette, and she had a hat that she wore when she was playing Miss Yvette. And Miss Yvette had this like whole personality, and she would go around and interact with all of the different centers. And it was this way for her to play that she was comfortable with. that she could put on and take off, which is, really easy to do when you're scared that the thing about playing is that it's going to get you in trouble for like being too involved. Like you can take it off. If the hat is off, I'm not Missy Vet anymore. So that was another example of kind of a little nugget we slipped in.
Well, and that's a great tool for teachers to be able to realize they don't have to be in character all the time.
Yeah. Right. You don't have to be in like that teacher position all the time, and you don't have to be in like play mode all the time.
And the more that they allow themselves to dance between both, they do start to see that they can overlap. Like the Venn diagram of that, the overlap can start to get authentically a little bigger. And forgive me, because I don't want to take us too off, but is there room for you to share in this platform a couple improv suggestions for maybe viewers who might be watching and thinking like, is there one or two quick things they can put in their pocket and maybe bring back to an upcoming staff training? Or am I putting you on the spot? Were you?
Hold on. I'll just take like a moment to think about it. Okay.
I wasn't sure if you were going here or not.
Yeah, I got something already. So honestly, the first thing I would suggest is to play a game, any game. It doesn't have to be an improv exercise. There are games that we play, the theater people, love to play a lot. There's one called Whoosh, where you're like passing this imaginary like energy around the circle with these different hand motions. And you can whoosh, whoa, which reverses it, pow, which goes across the circle, and bridge, which skips someone. And it's all about just like paying attention to the thing that came before you and reacting in the moment, and accepting like whatever it is that you did. Okay, that's the move I made. Because the more you think about it, it slows down the game, and then the pace is off and everyone's waiting. Whenever we played this in the trainings that we would do at the Smithsonian, if anybody ever messed up or did the wrong thing at the wrong time, we celebrated the failure by all going into the middle of the circle and going, woo! So I would suggest playing games, celebrating failure in the games. That would be like my number one recommendation, because then you're getting this sense of play being a part of your team culture. And also accepting and celebrating failure as a part of that process of play.
Which totally goes back to, you kind of alluded to it, the skills for the 21st century, right? The collaboration and the conflict and the creativity and the problem solving. And the only time that our children, and I would say even our adults, have the opportunity to practice those skills is while they're playing. Whether it's inside or outside, or as adults together or children together, that is the place where kids are able to practice all those things that we keep saying that they need to have. Thank you for letting me put you on the spot. Will you say those things again really quick for people who maybe didn't write it down? It was whoosh.
Yeah, so whoosh is off to the side, and you can go either way with whoosh, but you can only reverse the direction of it when somebody puts up a whoa. And then pow goes across the circle. Make sure you make eye contact, very important. And then bridge skips somebody. So you just got it, bridge. Yeah. Yeah.
That would be a fun game to play in a big conference.
Can we play it on Zoom? Have you figured out how to adapt all of these to the Zoom platform?
I think that would be amazing.
Screens are on different orders.
I know.
You have to say names, which would be like a fine way to learn names.
Yes.
How
yeah.
Lisa, and then Lisa could whoosh Deborah.
And I could whoosh to Deborah.
I remember at one task conference they did something like that. Were you at that one, Lisa? Where
I can remember.
They did. So you had a partner, and that partner would do 1, and you would do 2, and they would do 3, and you would do 4, and you all the way to 10. And then after you got that rhythm, then one of you started with 1, and the person that did 2 had to clap, and then 3 clap, 4. And you were rotating back and forth, so it was hysterical. And when you made a mistake, you went woo, and so you have 400 people in a room, and all of a sudden, and everybody's counting, and all of a sudden it's woo, and then the 1, 2, and then 3 became something else. You had to hop, or it was crazy. We did it at NAYC with the group for the IPA conference, and I swear to you, the whole room was cracking
You
up. It
blend
was
that with a happy hour, and then all of a sudden it's the most playful conference session in the world.
I was gonna say it reminds me of a drinking game, actually.
fun. That always helps, right? Yeah, that helps that creativity come out a little bit.
It does. Yeah.
And so if you were to tell a conference of teacher educators, I'm a college professor. So, and we play all the time in the classroom, but boy, it takes them a long time. And we play outside too. You know, it's physical development. We go outside, throw footballs, do a parachute, jump rope, sidewalk chalk, jacks,
But let me comment to this, because that's important to acknowledge, is that it's exactly what Christine said, which is that you're having to unlearn that you are helping them unlearn what they've been indoctrinated through the system, because essentially now you're going to repackage them and send them out into, in theory, the same system, but you're hoping that you throw enough people in there who've changed their mind so that the system itself starts to change. That's a big job, Deb. Sorry, keep going.
But it is a big job, but you see them as we move from course to course. So we play in the intro course, and we play in the child development course, and we play in the methods courses like crazy play, and then we play in the children, families, and community course. And so it's something that they get over and over and over again, and they get more and more comfortable with it. But I will tell you, the funny thing in methods, not only did I have a sensory averse class where probably 5 of them were like, I can't touch that, or I don't want to do that, right? Even with gloves and tongs. But what was interesting is when we were doing creative art and it wasn't a product, and they were like, well, what am I going to do with this? And I'm like, what do you think you should do with it? And they were like, well, will I do it wrong? And I said, how could you do it wrong? There's no expectation for what you're going to do. Yes.
You cannot be wrong.
You cannot be wrong. Yeah.
You know what?
You cannot be wrong when you create.
No.
Yeah.
You're creating. It's original to you. It is what it is.
And so it was so funny at the end of the class after, and there were people that dived right in, and then who felt more confident, and then people who were like, and this is after they'd had me for a year and a half, so they knew
that's
I
the
was.
law of thirds. You know that. That's the law of thirds.
Yes. So they finally said, "Okay, we get it." It was like maybe 20 minutes into the experimentation with all these different things. They would say, "Can we go get some?" I said, "Of course. You know where the art shelf is. Can we add some?" Of course. Where the art shelf is. And they were like, at the end, they said, "Okay, we understand now. We can't do products with children." We had so much fun, but it was getting them. I mean, and that was after a year and a half of playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Deb, you're good at that as a professor of you just as we say that the adults need to not be hurrying the children to always come to resolution with whatever the issue or the situation might be. You and you, I don't even know you, but I can tell, especially if you're facilitating these kinds of opportunities for teachers, you're not in a hurry to get to them being in a state of comfort. You're willing to sit in that state. You're not going to tell them that they don't need to do it in order to make them feel comfortable. You're going to let them sit there, and they're going to bring themselves to the other side of whatever that is. And I think that's awesome.
And yeah, so it is getting over that. Well, mine's not going to look like yours, sort of.
Thank God.
Yeah, that sense of rightness or correctness that we have drilled into us or indoctrinated into us, along with the devaluation of creativity and artistic pursuits. We also learn that there is a right way to do things. There is a name for everything. There is we are so
there's a standard.
Yes, there's a standard. So obsessed with patterns, which is a fantastic part of the human brain, and it leads us to storytelling and creativity and make believe, but it also corners us into believing that there's a right way or a correct way to do things. And actually NACCE addressed that a bit in their update to their position statement on development to appropriate practices, where they were like, hey guys, so when we say best practice, we don't mean there is one best practice. We mean like the best for the individuals who are in your care, in your room, in your community. What is best for them?
And not best for the class as a whole, best for the individual. Christine, this has been amazing.
Thank you so much for
Yeah, thanks.
I think you've given us tools that will help the audience. So, maybe I could try to wear the hat, and maybe I could start there. Or maybe we could play fun games where we're not really throwing anything, but we're pretending like we're throwing. There was another one that at TASK, when they had improv people there, which were wonderful, and I love them, they would throw beach balls, but there weren't any beach balls. But you would have to stand up, and they would throw randomly this ball.
You'd watch and be like, oh yeah, that's coming about here.
Yeah, and then you'd have to pop it up, and you'd say, look out, it's coming, and then off you go. And we laughed, and I think that's the joy of letting go.
You're all buying in to the same scenario, the same world that it doesn't exist. You can't see it, you can't touch it, but you all believe that it's happening at the same time. That is magic. And being able to do that in a room full of people is so great. And being able to do it in a room full of children is even better, because they're on fire. They will give you so much.
We had, when I was a director in an early care and education program, with this amazing woman would come and work with every class, and she was improv. And she came in and she had a basket full of stuff, and she had a room of 45 school age kids and every class she went to, they were enthralled with her, and they would be the trees, and she would be telling the story, and the wind was blowing, and it was priceless. And her background was theater.
That reminds me of another tip I would give to teachers. If you have dress ups in your classroom, cool, fine. Also, fabric, just fabric. Because the more like preconceptions there are about what the dress ups are, like the narrower the play could be. But
that's a great one.
Fabric, it can be anything. You can be anyone. You could be anything. It's fabulous.
That is a fabulous tip for teachers. Okay, well, this was amazing. Don't go anywhere. I have to close up, but we'll be back. Hold on a second. So to learn more about IPA-USA, please visit our website at IPA-USA.org. And until next time, keep on playing.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.